What's up, Doc?
Good morning, Tony.
Good morning. This is the Richland County Board of Commissioners. I am Commissioner Darrell Banks with Commissioner Tony Vero, Clerk Stacy Kroll, Andrew Keller, our county administrator, Rachel Troyer in the back room, back of the room, Carl Hunnell from the press, David Morgenstern, and Dr. Corey from North Central. And we have with us Cindy Dillingham, and she is going to tell us, report on us our quarterly Subco insurance policies.
Okay, well, in your packet, I've included the second quarter because we don't traditionally come out and do the second quarter because it's kind of based on what your renewal is, and it kind of overlaps when we're doing open enrollment meetings, but it is there for your records in the packet. So looking at third quarter, and because you just kind of need an overview, I believe, based on your agenda. Your running 12-month loss ratio is 116.8 on the medical, 135.2 on the prescription. Together, it's a combined 121%. Your dental is 84.8. And then the year-to-date is the 9 months, and you can see it's a little bit lower except on the dental. And then the next thing goes through what your employment, how it's broken down as far as employee and then members. As far as employees who take single-only coverage, you have 250 employees in that category. Employees that take employee spouse, you have 89 employees in that category for 178 members. Employee plus children, you have 140 employees that take that tier, 398 members. For family, you have 94 employees that take that, 383 members, so 573 employees and 1,208 members. And that's the average over that running 12-month period of time. Your average female employee age is 47 years, 5 months. Male is 45 years, 3 months. 53.4% of your membership is female, 46.6% of your membership is male. And then when we break it down, what the dollar amount is per member per month, meaning that smaller number of the larger number of 1,208 is 569.77 for medical and 197.62 for pharmacy. And when we shrink it to that 573 number for just employee, the per employee per month, 1,292 for medical and 416.54 for pharmacy. And then looking at the percentage of enrollment and how that relates to paid claims, 47.4% of your enrollment is employee. They make up 43.2% of your claims. 15.1% of your enrollment is spouse, and they make up 32.4% of your claims. And 37.4% of your enrollment is children, and they make up 14.5% of your claims. And I'll tell you, we see that in most counties, that it flips, that the percentage that you're paying in claims for children is usually close to what the enrollment is for spouse, and the percentage of claims that you're paying for spouses is usually close to the enrollment for children. Children typically, unless you have an ill child, do not cost a lot as far as claims. Then just the high level, if we look at the next page, is your high claimants. And as far as this report with Anthem, your high claimant report is $50,000. So you had 44 high claimants for this time period from August of 2022 through September of 2023. They make up 55% of your dollar spend, but 3.6% of your enrollment. And just as a FYI, your pooling point within Subco is 125,000. So it's higher than what Anthem is using as the high cost claimant for this report. And just as a reminder, you don't have to have a huge claim to have a $50,000. I mean, it can be an overnight stay. It can be an emergency room where they're doing a lot of different things. It can be a $50,000 claim. We used to think of 50,000 as maybe an extended stay in the hospital. That's not the case anymore. As far as on your 125,000 pooling point for this time period, you have 13 members that with that amount in the pooling point. Then if we go to the next page and we settings, you can see the bar graph. The lighter blue is the current period. a year ago at this time frame, and the green is 2 years ago at this time frame. So you got a significant renewal this year, but you can see your inpatient admissions were significantly higher this time frame than they were a year ago and 2 years ago. And your pharmacy is significantly higher than you were a year ago and 2 years ago. So that sort of is generating why the dollars were what they were. If you want to break out that per member per month, inpatient, it's 184.63 of the dollars. Outpatient is 225.89, and professional, which means physician and anything that's not a hospital, 159.04. And then if we go to the next page and we look at top 10 prescriptions, your top 10 medications are all specialty meds, and they make up 55% of your spend for the running 12-month period. They represent 516 of the total 15,266 medications for this 12-month period of time. And some of these medications may run more than 11,000 a month. The majority of your medications, though, are filled for Richland County members. They're generic and they're filled at retail. And the average cost of all of the other medications is about $87. So medications are the thing that we just, we're doing everything we can to try to control the cost. We put in some cost saving measures that are never popular with members. But the reality is the average person does not understand what the cost of the medication is because they're paying their copay. So when they go and get their medication and they're paying $20 for their medication, they don't know that that medication is $900, which means that county is paying $880 of the cost of the medication. So it's something that during open enrollment meetings, I try to mention because people need to truly understand the value of the insurance that the county is giving them, that, your copays are very low on your medications. If you go out in the real world, that is not what the private sector is paying on copays. And then if we look at the next page and we look at the discount savings, this is based on what Anthem's discounts are on a professional, meaning outpatient hospital and professional services. For inpatient, your discount is 32.3%. Outpatient, it's 35.4%. Professional, it's 58.4%. So for a total of 43.5%. So did I do that quick enough?
Yes.
Well,
Also in your packet, I included some things on the wellness program, some clarifications that we put out. And we knew there'd be questions as time came on. We did send these out to Rachel, and I'm sure we'll send them out to the employees, but just clarifying information will start to show on their portal. And questions that the first one was the program alert we sent out. And then the next day we sent out, we'd gotten a number of questions. And so we answered those, and we'll continue to do that in a program alert, just so that it makes it easier. If somebody has that question, probably means somebody here in the county has that question. And we just want to clarify it so they understand. Any questions on anything?
I have a comment. We've got a big increase in that.
Yeah.
And yet we're still paying the dollar that we pay in insurance, county and the employee pays. You guys are paying $116.
Correct. We're paying
$16.
we're paying $16.11.
Recoup that in premium increases though.
That was last quarter.
Correct. That's what impacts the next year's premium,
Gonna get,
right?
Well, your premium's based on your claim experience.
Yeah.
But
this year we're paying much more, so
You-
hopefully that gets,
yeah, if you go to this page that it's at the back of the report, it has your loss ratio, but it has Subco's loss ratio too. So where your medical loss ratio running 1,216.8, Subco overall was 99.2. Where your prescription was 135.2, Subco overall was 132.5. So our overall, Subco overall, all of the counties in the program is 105.5, which means in less money in premium than we're paying out. And the driver is definitely prescription. I mean, it is what it is.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you for braving the weather. We appreciate it.
Now I just have to decide, will I brave it immediately to go back, or am I going to find a place to have a cup of coffee and wait?
Relax, it's just coffee is the spot.
Okay, well,
Have a good week.
thank you.
So much, Wendy.
Let's do some of our other until 10 o'clock.
Oh, does the media have any?
Media, do you have any questions? Al, you have any questions?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Thank you. Okay. Can I have a motion to certify the recording record of proceedings for January 4th?
So moved.
Second,
Thanks,
yes.
Mr. Barrow.
Okay. Motion to authorize child support to make an offer to an employee, to the employee for acceptance.
So moved.
Second. Yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
And we, can we get a motion to approve an MOU with EMA in the Mansfield Richland County Library?
So moved.
Second,
Commissioner Banks.
yes.
Yes.
Okay. And we have a request for a utility permit application. Energy Consumers Gas Cooperative. Tap into an existing gas main, install a new one. There will be no boring under the road.
So moved.
Second,
Commissioner Banks.
yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
And can get a motion to reappoint Chris May to the library, the law library.
Yeah, we just need to we need to reverse Chris May and Randy Hutchinson. We had appointed Randy Hutchinson to a new term. It's actually Chris May we needed to appoint to a new term. So this just clears that up. So I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Banks.
Yes.
Mr. Barrow.
Yes.
Okay. And we have a notice to approve a notice of an ARPA expenditure to Jim Squirky Eisler.
Here, I'll actually make a motion to approve both of those. What we did here, if you saw from Andrew, is we just split, these are for the 6 cruisers. We split the ARPA awards between 2 different funds, which would be the revenue loss in the LATCF. It's that additional $100,000 in the LATC money, which basically operates as revenue loss or in government services. So what Mr. Keller did was just exhausted that $100,000. So both of these actually work in conjunction with one another. So I'll make a motion that we approve both of those.
Second,
Commissioner Banks.
yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Okay, can we get a motion to accept to appoint Jay Snee to Children's Services Board?
Motion to appoint Jerry Snee to Richland County Children's Services Board.
Second,
When's his term start?
Let me pull that up.
Information, so.
Okay. It would start, well, supposed to start first this year with the term end date of 12/31/27.
Thank you. Commissioner Banks.
yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes.
Can we get a motion to accept a quote from the Hammett Asphalt for the jail parking lot resurfacing? The total cost $3,810.
So moved.
Second,
Commissioner Banks.
yes.
Commissioner Barrow.
Yes. And I do have one bit of other. Mr. Dropsy, I forwarded you the email. Final revenues are in for 2023. And we came in at 47, 303, 017.48. So for those keeping score at home, that's a victory for me over Mr. Dropsy, who loses once again.
Doubt if anybody at home is keeping track, but we sure are here in the board.
Because I collected on my lunch yesterday. So pretty sad day for auditor, loses to commissioner, but I believe it's 2 years in a row, so. I came in at 47-1. He was in the 46s. We were 47-303. So good year. It's official. And I'll pour through the line item details today in sales tax and take a look at it. That's it.
I don't hear any applause.
Well, you know. Pretty sad, and he paid up before the official amount came in. Talk about conceding defeat, so. He loses the annual bet.
Any other business to come before the board? Okay, it is 9:46 and we will recess and be back in session at 10 o'clock. Okay, it's 10 o'clock and we are, the board's back in session. I'd like everybody to introduce themselves. If, Mark, you want to,
Yeah, hi. Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Shoddy. I'm a project manager with Broadband Ohio, which is an office within the Ohio Department of Development. Happy to be here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Elbor. I'm the Assistant Chief at Broadband Ohio.
Tim Bowersock, City of Mansfield's Economic Development Director.
Barrett Thomas, Economic Development Director at the Chamber of Economic Development.
Marilyn John, State Representative.
Greg Hesterman, I'm the lead conversion officer for the next 4 weeks.
And I'm Ken Kmetz. I'm the Deputy Wing Commander at the 179. Good morning, everybody.
Keep going.
Oh, they already mentioned me. Oh. Donnie Diab, of Central State College.
Ray Trudell, property owner on US 30.
I'm Josh Motzer with Brightspeed. We're one of the internet providers here in Richland County.
Keller County Administrator.
Alan Garrett, I'm with Ohio Laborers.
thank you. We have some very exciting news today. And to give you kind of an overview, Tony, Commissioner Vero is going to give an overview and then we're going to hear from some of you here in the audience.
So actually, Dr. Diab gets the credit for this. He approached me, at an RCDG meeting about a year ago. And he said, hey, Commissioner, you're gonna earn your paycheck and start expanding broadband in Richland County. So that spurred a local group between Dr. Diab, myself, Barrett Thomas, and Jody Perry to start looking at specifically broadband needs for Richland County. Contemporaneous to that, Peter Voderberg, I'd heard him speak, you were there, Daryl, in Columbus, about the upcoming broadband expansion in Ohio. And we reached out to Broadband Ohio, and I think, Mark, again, correct me if I'm wrong, we met for the first time in April last year. So this has been going on for about a year. Going over the need for broadband expansion, specifically along Route 30. If you look at the map, this is the ORNet, Ohio Academic Resources Network, that Peter got us in touch with. I think it's pretty clear. We don't have known, again, we say at this time, which we'll get into, a dedicated fiber line running across Route 30. Brought in the base, obviously they're converting to a cyber wing, so probably having reliable internet's pretty important, I would think. And we are here today to put out a request for information to do just that. And that's where it gets above my head because I'm just not smart enough to talk about it. So I'll turn it over to Broadband 30. And then what I hope we could do, Broadband Ohio, is go to Barrett to talk about the significance of economic development, go to our representatives from the base to talk about the significance of what that would do for the base, and then to Doc to talk about the significance of the university. And then, of course, we'll look to Maryland to say how much money you got over there. So that's where she comes in. And we should note that a group of us met with the Lieutenant Governor Husted and Lydia Mihalik in November. They made no promises, but I think he said the same thing when looking at this map. He said, surprised we don't have that already. And we said, what a surprise. That's us too. So I think he's very interested as Lieutenant Governor. I'm not speaking for him. Certainly ask him, State Representative John and Senator Romanchuk when we get there for some funding assistance. So it's all yours.
Great, thank you. Again, I'm Amy Elbor. I'm the Assistant Chief at Broadband Ohio. We're a office within the Ohio Department of Development dedicated to bringing high-speed internet access to all Ohioans. And like Commissioner Vero said, this has been about a year in the making. Everyone meeting, talking about what the needs are for Richland County. And the consensus has been, okay, we don't know what's there. Let's do a request for information. So you have, if you have the paper in front of you, the request for information, really to gather and discuss, to see what's in the ground and possible ways to increase high-speed connectivity in the area. The scope of the project is to build an open access middle mile network. And so most folks in here probably know what middle mile is, but I'll just go over it really quickly. The middle mile network is a physical infrastructure of high capacity fiber lines that is required to enable last mile connectivity directly to homes, businesses, and community institutions. So if you don't have middle mile connectivity, we can't bring that last mile to homes. The project, we're requesting information to consist of 2 legs from pre-existing ORNet backbone networks, and they're called POPs, but POP stands for point of presence. One from the Canton area. So if you can see on the map up there, Stark County, and then a POP would come to over to Mansfield, and then from Mansfield to the Lima area, connecting the US 30 corridor. This is an exciting opportunity for the Department of Development because the opportunity for an open access middle mile network along this area would help bring connectivity to major anchor institutions, homes, and businesses. And there's a lot coming up through our office. We talk a lot about the BEAD program, the Broadband Equity and Access and Deployment Program. Our office was awarded $793-ish million to connect the whole state. So this is a really good time to do this, a really good opportunity to see, okay, is there anything in the ground? If not, what needs to be done? So providers in the area can really work off of this for the next upcoming rounds of funding.
Okay, so one of the drivers for this project was certainly the cyber wing. Barrett has explained to me probably 3 times the importance of POPs and what the plan initially was. So I'm hoping maybe you guys can tell us the significance of what a POP would do for the base.
Maybe talk about your current internet and.
Yes, yeah, maybe a little before and hopefully after.
Yeah, I think that, obviously we do require significant broadband capability with our mission. We're going through an electrical study now to see what the demand is going to be in that case, because we expect a significant increase in that. But that's driven by our requirement just for network connectivity, for partnering with local mission partners within the state of Ohio, numerous entities on site on Wright-Patterson, but also places like Battelle, Ohio State, that sort of thing. And they're already tied into this network, which would be awesome. It'll allow us some secure communications with those partners as well. Point of presence, I know early on we've discussed maybe putting one either on the installation or right outside the installation. What that allows us to do is just to be able to make any changes as necessary in conjunction with the internet service provider, because we're going to require numerous networks. Mostly everything will be unclassified, but we'll also have classified or encrypted networks going through that broadband backbone. So just to be able to get the most capability as close to the installation as possible, absolutely key. So do we add anything?
Any questions on that so far, Carl?
So far over my head.
I know they start talking POP and encryption, and I don't know.
My first newspaper front end system was an IBM Selectrix 2 typewriter. Beyond that, there've been dragons.
So obviously it's very important for us in terms of the cyber wing, but I think Barrett and Tim can hopefully speak on what that would mean for economic development for the Mansfield Industrial Park in Richland County. So Barrett.
Sure. So the cyber wing is a huge part of economic development, helping to shift the skill set that's in the community, get much more high tech and much more specific in cybersecurity. Supporting that helps us attract other businesses. We've got we're in conversations now with other companies that are interested in being in that same area, interested in very large internet connections that need a lot of broadband, a lot of bandwidth, and a lot of speed. So this is certainly a tool that helps us say this is the right place to be, instead of any of the other 10 places you're looking. You want to be here in Richland County.
Jimbo?
I think it's also will assist our existing business base because their demands for broadband services continually grown over the years, and most of them are doing more business online, doing more meetings online. So the services are, any improvement to the network has got to be good for local businesses.
Doc?
Well, internet and more specifically, the high-speed broadband capacity is becoming like a utility anymore, like electricity and water. whether it's for business, whether it's for the population in the county and things like that, cannot do without it anymore. And as far as the campus is concerned, it's about teaching, it's about research, about online delivery. I mean, you know, we don't want to have snow days anymore. Last year we did not, because all our faculty and staff have computers and students have access to computers. And so if there is a calamity of some sort, they're able to access that and be able to have the continuity for teaching, for businesses, for the cyber wing, for the university and things like that. So we're very proud of the progress we make to this point and looking forward to the support of the state to make that happen. Because also in a rural environment, you know, the concern on the part of the students, especially that the internet capacity is not existent as much. And so therefore, with a middle mile, we can have the last mile. And that's what we're looking forward to make that happen. Thank you so much for all your help and support.
And look, this isn't just a Richland County. You can see on the map, this would be building a dedicated broadband or fiber line across the entire state of Ohio, which again, there's been some minor conversations with other counties. As we move forward in this, we'll move forward with that and expedite that. But you can see this wouldn't just be a benefit to Richland. Now, we want the pop, of course, for the air base. So we're somewhat selfish. But this would be a significant project for the state of Ohio. So that leads us to the mechanics of the RFI. And again, Barrett in Broadband Ohio, if you could sort of tell us how that would potentially, or how that will operate.
Yeah, so we're hosting the RFI. Those questions will come to me and we'll get, through our team, we'll get answers and kind of post those answers to questions. And then we'll collect all the responses, and then the team as a whole is going to review those. And obviously Broadband Ohio is going to be a big part of that. And I think ODOT is involved as well. Do you guys want to talk about that review process?
Sure. So it's great that the county's doing the RFI process. It's a little more restrictive on our end. But we definitely plan on being involved. Usually what we do is, and I'm not sure if this has been discussed yet in the meetings, but go through the questions, read through them. Is it what we were expecting? Is it not what we were expecting? Kind of just analyze each response and then collect all the information and go from there to see what kind of document we need to put together for proposals going forward to get this project up and going.
And I think, Tony, we talked about doing an RFI to kind of gather the information to figure out who has infrastructure in this region so that we can put out a specific proposal later on that will have more detail. So this is really the information gathering phase.
Yeah, so a lot of this information is proprietary. There could be some existing lines out there, but we don't know that yet. So the chamber has actually created a specific URL for the RFI, and it'll be up until February 9th. Is that 5 p.m.? Is that correct? Yep. So Amy, Barrett, what happens then after we gather the information?
So after we gather the information, the working group will meet, kind of put some plans together, work with Ornet, ODOT, and just really put a project or proposal together. Like, this is what the state of fiber and Route 30 looks like, and this is what we're going to need to kind of meet some of these goals and objectives.
And then it'll help us also get to what's probably one of the most important things, which is the cost, correct?
Correct. Yes, these questions should definitely help with figuring out what the cost will be.
And we have a ballpark. Are we allowed to talk about that? I don't know how we're not sure yet because we don't know what we're going to get back.
Right. We're not sure. And this could, and I don't know if this has been talked about, but lead to requests for proposal to actually see what will the cost be to kind of build these segments all at once or, individually. So this could lead to another request for proposal or for information as well.
State Representative John, you got any money laying around?
There's a few dollars state, but I do want to, first of all, Dr. Diab pointed out something. So 14 years ago, when I took office as mayor of the city of Shelby, one of the things that was astonishing to me is that we had students in our area that were still on dial-up. Their homes were still on dial-up. And I'm not sure that doesn't still exist in some parts of the county and state. And so, given the significance, I agree with Dr. Diab, this is becoming a utility. It's not a luxury item anymore for families, and definitely not for businesses and the base and the college. It's a necessity. And so I'm very thankful that the state of Ohio has recognized that necessity. And I'm also very thankful that Richland County, once again, is leading the way in our region by bringing this to the attention of the state. When you look at the original map that was put up, it's very evident the empty spot that's in north central Ohio. And so seeing this new map and what the benefits that will come to businesses, residents, and many other areas is really significant. So I think this is the type of project that the state is looking for. The state recognizes the significant need of broadband throughout the state, which is why we have put as much emphasis and money toward it as we have. And so I'm very excited to see this project move forward, and it'll take time, so it will require patience. Not everybody in this room has that.
Daryl.
But it will require patience, but I'm really glad to see us moving forward with it.
Okay. Carl, questions, media out there in Zoom land?
Wait a minute. I told Al he could go first.
Oh, Al gets to go first? Okay.
Al, you have any questions?
Yes, excuse me, I have a number of them. First of all, what kind of information are you looking for in terms of requests for information? Just is it a matter of you're looking to see what kind of existing broadband internet connections exist? Is that what you're looking at?
Well, check your inbox, Al. I just sent it to you as well.
Yeah, it's also online, richlandareachamber.com/broadband.
Okay, how long do you think this information gathering process will be before you get an idea of, what you're going to need and what you're going to need to go out for a request for proposals?
The gathering or pouring through the gathering? Because those are probably two different things. We have a month to gather it.
Yeah, so the RFIs are due back on the 9th, and then the team will kind of sift through that data and decide what the next step will be, whether it's another RFI, if it's an RFP, if we're going straight towards a contract.
I guess kind of what bottom line is, how long will it take before we get this whole thing in place? 1 year, 3 years, 5 years?
Broadband, you want to take that?
I guess it all just depends what the information we find in the RFI process. If there's nothing there, it'll take longer. If there is something there that we're unaware of, it could shorten the amount of time, but it's definitely a heavy lift, a heavy construction project. I don't want to put a time frame on it, but it'll take time.
I know it sounds a little vague, Al, but there's just so many variables. It's a heavy thoroughfare. We certainly believe there's broadband capabilities along there, but we don't know how much and how many providers until we get the responses back from the request for information. So we really just don't know at this time. Commissioner or State Representative John is correct. Some of us are less patient than others. So there will be some of us who want to push this along as fast as we can.
Okay, I guess one of the reasons why I'm asking is because I'm thinking, the cyber wing wants to push this along as fast as possible. Probably, I'm guessing you have probably a more urgent need than, say, business or education does.
This Colonel Hesterman, conversion officer, I would say yes. I mean, we have some time, but the sooner the better. And we have requested if it's feasible for basically this project, instead of going from, say, the east to the west or the west to the east, start project from Richland County and work out in both directions so that the base could be up and operational sooner.
That makes sense for a lot of reasons.
And obviously, we're providing citizen airmen that are already learning how to do much more with IT. And we've got 40 some back already, another 80 in school as we speak, and we'll be putting a couple hundred more people through these schools as well. And they're going to work in the civilian sector. They're probably going to work in the state of Ohio, closer to Mansfield as we go. So 65% of our folks live within a 50-mile radius of the base, and then it spreads out into other states as well. So we're going to be in everywhere. And what we're going to do in the end is not going to be done remotely. It's going to be done at the installation. So certain things you can do remotely, teleworking and stuff like that you can do, but all it's only going to do is the mission will be home station. So we'll be providing trained citizen airmen that are going to be working out, going out to find jobs within this area and bring more STEM to this area. So we think it's only a great relationship to form. And I couldn't agree more. I think it absolutely, IT broadband is absolutely a new utility. It's as important as electric. It's as important as water. It's an enabler for business in this area for sure.
We know that business development follows tech, right? My father's from Rome, New York. They had Griffiths Air Force Base. That area, it took a little while up and running, but it is now a thriving tech park. Now, obviously, it's a bigger area than what we have, but there's condos going up around it. There's high-paying jobs going up around it. So as you see anchors, which we will have in the 179th, I certainly think we expect to have development in and around that area to help with that.
With Rome, New York, there's an Air Force installation there that does all kinds of things with broadband.
It's nice out there.
Piggyback on that as well. The Air Force is looking for a location to place a data center for their sim operations, and Mansfield is on that list. So if we can show, one, the community support, the state support, but also a reasonable timeline to have this, because that data center is going to require significant broadband. As the pilots, what the purpose is for pilots at various installations to be, say, one base could be in New York flying a C-17 simulator is meeting up with a A-10 simulator pilot in Indiana. But that's all got to go through some data center, and Mansfield's on that list, but this would play a vital role in that for future opportunity as well. It's not just the cyber mission that we know is coming.
And far and away, 95% of those jobs are civilian.
Yeah.
Under the DoD umbrella.
Yeah, those would not be managed by airmen, so to speak, but DoD contracted civilians.
Hey, Tim, you think the new mayor would like that income tax?
She probably like it. She's not averse to us having a.
And those jobs are in addition to the other, like private business projects that I'm looking at.
Right.
I think we can all see why it's really important that we accomplish this project.
Yeah, Tony, since you mentioned the added development, do you think, we've been talking about a lot about how the Intel project is going to affect Richland County. Do you think having this broadband will push some of this even further into Richland County?
I don't think it would hurt. I mean, you have a tech company in the Columbus area, and now we just expanded our broadband capabilities with the cyber wing in Mansfield, Ohio, about an hour away. So I certainly think it would make us more attractive to be a part of that Intel umbrella.
I will certainly second that as well. I mean, with the availability of remote work and the cost of living that we have in our area, and being just only about an hour away on the highway and things like that, and the growth that Columbus is saying, that we'll see a lot of people being able to live in our area and have that remote accessibility.
Well, that's another piece, and Barrett can speak to that, is now with the increased bandwidth, again, we're going to get outside my capabilities, but bandwidth and capacity, that should spur last mile connections. Is that correct? How would that work? We're not just talking business and base. I mean, this would greatly help our county in other areas as well.
Yeah, and you guys can probably speak to this better than I can, but the middle mile infrastructure gives more points on the network to build last mile infrastructure.
And with the speed, the bottom lines of speeds increasing, the round that we just closed for our state grant program wasn't just 120, it's 100. So, and for a family to be able to do their homework and use Netflix and, you know, do all the things they need to do, the speed requirements are higher. And so to have a middle mile network that can support all of these needs would definitely lead to better last mile connectivity.
I think Representative John's a big gamer, so she might like the high-speed internet capabilities.
All the upload speeds for.
Right, Fortnite, Call of Duty, get her headset on late at night.
Anything else, Al?
Yeah, a couple more. How would this broadband network work? Would this like fiber optics be kind of like the old big cable bundles that they used to have for telephone, except this is fiber optic, faster and stuff like that? Is that kind of how the system would work?
Yeah, I think the goal would be to put the best fiber available in the ground.
So it can expand.
Yeah.
Yeah, so lots of strands of fiber
Mhm.
altogether.
Okay. Amy, could I have your last name, please?
Sure. Elbor, ELBAOR.
And if you connect east and west, it obviously gives redundancy as well. It's not just feeding from the left or feeding from the right. You get a sense of redundancy as well. And which is really important for liability for business. Not to mention when a cyber goes out at my house, I know it immediately. For my kids.
Okay, since when everybody was introduced, I couldn't see faces. Who is that was just talking, please?
Ken Kometz, I'm the deputy wing commander at the 179th.
How do you spell it?
Kometz, KMETZ.
And gentleman next to you?
Colonel Hesterman, Greg Hesterman.
HESTERMAN. Greg is with two G's, GREGG.
Okay, and your title again with the wing?
Chief Conversion Officer.
Okay, and I know Marilyn and Barrett, so I think that's all I had for right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Al. Just a second, Carl. This gentleman had a question?
So my wife and I lived in Albany for about 30 years. We moved up to the area about 4.
So you upgraded?
Well, absolutely. We love the rural area. And anyway, we're both professionals. We're living in Galleon now. We have a fair amount of property on both the north and south side of 30. I spent the last 2 weeks over the holidays building a berm, 10 feet high, 350 feet long, to block out the noise from US 30. So, and we're building fences. My question is, what's the infrastructure of the fiber optics that you're planning on doing across the corridor for US 30? Is it underground? Or is it going to spider out along property lines within people's property? Just curious.
Sure, that's a great question. I don't think I can answer that right now just because we don't have all of the information on what's in the ground. That process and that probably what it would look like with ODOT, those are all questions that would need to be answered once we get the information. It would mostly be underground. I would assume there wouldn't be any aerial, but again,
Especially here.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to speak to that just because we don't know what's in the ground.
Let me ask you, is it within the fence of the US 30? Or is it outside of the fence? Is it inside of the mesh fences that go along US 30?
That would be an ODOT question.
And is there somebody?
Yeah, we can, I can give you my card after this and we can connect.
So I think we don't know what we don't know the answer.
Sure.
It's especially for specific locations, but ODOT is a partner and they're willing to let us use their right. Okay.
Carl, do you have any questions?
Just to follow up with that, so at this point, do you anticipate, if ODOT is willing to give you access to their right of way, do you anticipate having to seek additional right of way from private property owners as part of the process?
I don't think we've gotten to that discussion yet.
Spirit, you and I talked, we did a story 3 years ago about the whole SEDS project, but I think this was identified. Nobody's really talked about that study today. Talk about how that work may have helped set the stage for what we're talking about today, the importance of that study. The counties, I think Richland, Ashland, Crawford, and Wyandotte did with Bowling Green.
Sure. So, I mean, part of this map with the dots that are on there were gathered from that group. You know, I called all those folks up again and said, hey, here's this project. This is, I think it's initiative or goal number 2 on the list, the infrastructure goal. So that was an easy way to say, hey, we've talked about this before. Here's a way that we can help make that connection happen. So like those partnerships all exist. We've also had meetings with everyone all across Route 30. We posted several of those here in Richland County. So all this, you know, everyone's excited about having ORNet come through their backyard. I mean, it brings capacity that nothing else compared to. So, you know, maybe eventually there's some way to connect some of those EPA funding opportunities through the SEDS to this. But that's all like down the road once we figure out like what the project is, scope it out. Tony squeezes Maryland for money, all that stuff.
I friendly encourage her to find ways to fund the project.
But I see that, you know, obviously Richland County is the one asking, heading up the RFI, but there are 7 counties up there on that board, which means 7 county boards of commissioners, 7 prosecuting attorneys representing the legal interests of their counties, mayors along the way. How on board, like are all of these folks, and is Richland County, you guys feel comfortable today that you're speaking on behalf of those 7 counties?
I don't think we're speaking for them, Carl. I think we are requesting information for a broadband project that clearly does run across the state of Ohio with a point of presence in Richland County. Once we get that information and have a better idea about what the scope of the project is, start having more and additional conversations with all of those partners. I can't imagine there's going to be a lot of resistance. I'll never say never. Because again, this is another utility for all the reasons we've discussed. What's true of Richland County in terms of economic development, expansion of broadband. I would think this would be pretty well received, but I'll never say never. And we'll certainly include all the partners. But again, we're also, as you heard from the base, we would like to start in Richland County. So those conversations will certainly take place once we pour through the information.
I'm not a tech person, so let me ask a question. If you currently have a line over in Stark County or whatever county is in the east, or Worcester, and it goes to Allen County, Lima, how do you start in the middle? What is that line going to be hooking to? I'm asking.
All gonna find out in the information. That's what you just asked why we're putting out a request for information.
I don't know how that works.
That makes a lot of us. Well, yeah. We'll find out when we get the information.
Last question I would have, and this would be for the Broadband Ohio folks. You guys have been doing this kind of work over the state now for a few years. Is it possible that you don't have any idea if there's any infrastructure of this kind along US 30 right now?
As of right now, we are unsure of what exactly is in the ground.
What I had.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, Josh Muffin with Brightspeed. Actually, I'm so excited to see some familiar faces. You all knew me when I was with CenturyLink. CenturyLink sold its local assets, telephone and internet access, and it's been probably 15 years since we saw each other. to Brightspeed, I applaud the county for specifically the RFI piece. What's been questioned here or asked about what assets are already there. It can speak to, I think, just our company alone and our competitors as well. There are a number of assets that I think the county could leverage even very quickly to do some things that would make a positive impact and then keep expanding, county by county. So I applaud you all for doing this and look forward to being a participant of it, especially we were in the early conversations with the Cyber Reserve when we were back with Lumen, which was a cybersecurity provider. And we have fiber throughout the Long Airport. So I look forward to talking to you all because I think we could even get things started and get you as a county, not just us, the industry could get the county connected to Ornet, I think, more quickly than waiting till we have an entire 7-county footprint. So thank you for the opportunity.
Good seeing you again, by the way.
And we're glad to be back. Yeah. Never went anywhere, but we're glad. So thank you.
Well, this is very exciting and we're looking forward to it and glad to hear we might connection to get things a little quicker. Be good. So any other business to come before?
Barrett, it's up now. Is the RFI up now?
Yeah.
Okay, it's up?
Up.
All right.
Okay. People have information. We hope they will get that to you soon. Okay. Will 10:36 stand adjourned.